Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. You are watching our daily news and opinion show, Rebel Roundup, and I'm joined today by my friend in beautiful Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Hello, Sheila Gunn Reid. Well, I am on tenterhooks,
Yes.
waiting for the Tamara Lich Chris Barber verdict to come down, and I'm absolutely obsessing over Ezra's Twitter feed right now because it's coming in second on second, and that verdict is expected any moment now. So we will be keeping a really sharp eye on that for you, Canada, and we'll let you know as soon as we know what happens.
Yeah, I'll just read to you what Ezra has tweeted just 2 minutes ago, and this is his assessment from inside the courtroom. He says, and this is in quotation, so you know it's not the judge, it's Ezra saying this. He says, I have a bad feeling. I now believe that the judge will convict Tamara Lich, not for protesting or blocking anything, and not for incendiary language as some of Barber's comments, her co-accused Chris Barber, who, the judge did cite some of his messages and public comments, but for being an encourager. Ezra also says the judge emphasizes Tamara Lich saying, hold the line. The prosecution has claimed that's an illegal statement as it's inducing mischief. There it looks like the judge, and it's so strange because Ezra has been so optimistic about Tamara's chances. Now, for those of you at home who don't know what's happening, you can follow along at tamaratrial.com, and you can help offset her legal costs because it sounds like, if she is indeed convicted today, there will be an appeal. We can't let this stand. You just hold the line does not or should not result in a mischief conviction in Canada's largest, most expensive mischief trial. I think it's the largest, most expensive mischief trial, not just in Canada, but in the Commonwealth. So anyways, that's at tamaratrial.com. So if you're not on X and you're not following along with Ezra's post there, you can follow along there. We'll have the news as it breaks. The judge, this is from just a minute ago from Ezra, judge now reading one of Lich's Facebook posts that is all about peace and love and prayers. To quote directly, please try not to be angry. Keep love in your hearts. Keep fighting the good fight. And we're going to hold the line. And Tamara was arrested the next day. So those are the words, apparently, if this goes the way Ezra suspects, will result in Tamara's conviction. He's no longer as optimistic as he was just this morning. The judge says, hold the line can mean different things, but without a doubt, it was a rallying cry to remain on the streets. And Ezra says, in Canada, this is so true. In Canada, you can say from the river to the sea, which is from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. We'll wipe out the Jews. You can say from the river to the sea, the Hamas chant to kill every Jew in Israel. You can call for intifada revolution, a violent pogrom, and police will smile. Not even smile, they'll bring you a coffee and donuts. But say, hold the line at a peaceful trucker protest and you'll be jailed. Yeah. So anyways,
it's a sad, well, we know that Canada is in trouble. We already know this. But I'm really nervous about this coming down, because just remember that the trucker convoy proved to every Canadian, no matter what side of it you were on, that the media was lying to us, the government was lying to us, and it was safe to go outside and resume our lives again. That's what it eventually proved to everyone in Canada, and that this has been dragged out for the amount of years and to the tune of millions of taxpayer dollars to come to this day. I mean, to say that this is going to be monumental one way or the other is not an exaggeration. It's just not an exaggeration. I'm just so nervous for them right now.
Yeah,
My sad
this
piece.
this is Ezra's tweet from just seconds ago. The judge notes Tamara Lich's call for truckers to obey the police directions, to de-escalate in some neighborhoods, was proof that she knew they were breaking the law, and that hold the line meant to defy the law. I think we've got a conviction inbound here. But what that means is this is not the end. So either today was going to be the end and Tamara was free, or it would be just another step in the fight. And I think it is just another step in the fight, because this cannot stand. You know, and as Ezra points out, the double standard, that you can literally call for genocide in the streets. From the river to the sea means, again, from the Mediterranean and the Jordan. Guess what exists in there? Israel. You can call for genocide on the streets and the cops will clear the roadways for you. Hold the line, we'll let you in jail.
Yep. But to encourage people to do the right thing and to remain peaceful, gets you admonished by the it's wild. This is just wild. And for everybody watching, that website, Sheila, that you quoted, donating takes less than 10 seconds. I am not joking. They have such a slick setup. You click on the website, you go to the link, and less than 10 seconds, Canada, and whatever you can contribute to her legal defense fund is just so important in this moment. And so I'll be doing that today too. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, here's the thing. Tamara Lich was the greatest political opposition force Trudeau had ever faced up until that time. He was more effective than any conservative politician. She was more effective than Andrew Scheer, more effective than Erin O'Toole, because she was just a peaceful, loving grandmother who just said enough is enough.
Yeah. I'm done with this. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And it really did shine a light on the entire thing. A couple of days ago I was visiting with a young guy, and he's you know, a real mover and shaker. He was doing an internship. You know, he spent the entire COVID nightmare in Saskatchewan. Then he went to Ottawa at this time to do an
Yeah.
internship, and he brought his skates, and he was going to skate the Rideau Canal because, you know, he was like, you know, it's a solitary hobby that I could do. And he said, and then I came across this convoy, and he said, and it was in that moment that I realized, oh, life can go back to normal. This is happening. Nothing bad happened. These are all peace loving, fun loving Canadians that are displaying their love for Canada on the streets of Ottawa. Isn't this what we should all be able to do? And he was just mortified that it had devolved through the courts to this moment that we're experiencing right now. And so just don't forget Canada. We could be in a place right now. Any news, Sheila? We could be in a place right now that could
Yes,
be
we've
far
got
worse off if it
news.
weren't for the actions. Okay, go.
We've got news. They've convicted her. So Ezra tweets 40 seconds ago, the judge says there's an absence of information about her, quote, honest belief about their conduct. The judge says, and this is a direct quote, the Crown has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Lich and Barber have committed mischief. Now, will she be sentenced today? I highly doubt it. If she is sentenced, I can't imagine that it's sentenced for more than time served. She does not have a criminal record. This is a woman who, if she had pled guilty on her very first day, would not have seen the inside of a jail cell. But she spent 49 days in jail thanks to an illegal breach of her conditions, as in she didn't breach her conditions, but they flew a homicide detective out to Alberta to pick her up on a breach that never happened. And she was denied bail once. And then finally, a more level-headed judge saw the evidence and said, this isn't even a breach. What is this woman doing behind bars for a non-violent offense? So here we go. They cannot be said to be mere bystanders. A finding of guilty will be made against both on account of mischief.
This is a sad day. This is a
It
sad day,
is.
Canada, and it is a well. It does. It just demonstrably shows what a terrible state the nation of Canada is in. And this is not going to bode well for sentiments that support Western separation.
Yeah.
That's it. These are two Saskies. I know that Tamara lived
We
in
adopted
Alberta.
her.
Yeah, she lived in Alberta at the time, but these are two Saskies, and this is not going to be taken well by the Western provinces. It is not. It
Yeah.
is not.
And it's funny
Um,
because Tamara
but
herself had said that she was a member of, I think, the Maverick Party, so a separatist party. And she
yeah,
said what renewed her love for this country was the people of the convoy. It made her feel like the country was something worth fighting for, that the
yeah.
wrongs of the politicians against us were not the collective crime of the people of Canada. She felt like a sense of unity. And
That's what
I'm
everybody said that experienced it.
everybody
That's
felt
what
that.
everybody
Yeah,
said. You know, other
yeah.
than a small handful of very spoiled bureaucrats in Ottawa that were a tiny bit inconvenienced. Uh, this is wild. This is just wild.
Okay, so the court is breaking until 2 p.m. That's Eastern, so about 48 minutes from now. Ezra will be back on with his tweets. Can you just scroll up? Are they sentencing her today? I can't imagine that they are. No,
Why would they? No, of
no. We'll drag this out further.
course.
But they are now both convicted of mischief. They can have full-scale Hamas riots on the streets of Montreal, like where police
Well,
are assaulted and bottles are thrown and windows are smashed. None of those things, by the way, happened during the Freedom Convoy. But are those organizers of that
right.
riot being investigated for even mischief? Are their bank accounts being frozen to investigate to see if Iranian money is flowing into it? None of that stuff is
Who's
happening. So there's
no,
no way that you can argue that this isn't anything but political.
no, and and this is such a sad day for Canada, because I think up until the point of the Freedom Convoy, all Canadians thought, well, okay, one day I'm going to visit Ottawa. It is our nation's capital. I will be able to, just experience the nation's capital and everything that it has to offer. And I think that this slams the door in the face of every single Canadian that ever considered visiting there. Who would risk it at this point? Who would risk it? What they do there does not represent the rest of us.
No.
They are an
Look at this.
unwelcoming,
More
obviously.
flags than Canada Day. More flags than
Incredible.
Canada Day. Our flag for a time became a symbol of peaceful political resistance to government tyranny around the world. It's something I'd never seen. Like
Yeah,
during the Hong Kong freedom protests, the Hong Kong protesters were flying American flags because, of course, it's the shining city on the hill.
yeah,
But then you saw these satellite convoys in America and in Australia and even in Europe in the
mhm.
farmers' protests, and they had our flags there. It was a moment of pride for
Look at yeah, and
us.
and just look at this footage. This is what Mark Carney
This is this is
considered
criminal.
sedition. That's what he
Yeah,
considered sedition. People dancing in the streets with their Canadian flags. This is what they look at this. Look at those happy, joyful people. This is what they
yeah.
considered sedition. 10 million bucks they took. Oh, this is I'm
Again,
salty now. Oh, I'm
uh,
salty.
know
I
that your current prime minister, my fellow Canadians, called that sedition. If you
yeah,
are a seditionist, you are by definition a terrorist. You are by definition treasonous. That's what sedition means. The gall of a guy who continues to do business and enrich himself from China behind closed doors, calling somebody like Tamara Lich, who abandoned her separatist tendencies to fight for our country, as a treasonist. No, she just didn't like what the liberals were doing. And that counts as terrorism in this country. Look at
well,
this terrorism.
look at look at this. That's what they considered terrorism. Look at all the smiling, happy, dancing people. Look at them,
Where
just
were
joyful to
these?
be together for the first time
Where
in
were these?
years.
Yeah, and where were these people supposed to go? This is their country's capital. You want
Yes.
us to feel like part of this country, but you want to ban us and our protests from the capital. Where
Western
the heck are we
Canada,
supposed to go?
Western Canada, this is a message to you. If you even think about visiting the nation's capital, if you even think about, talking back to the government in a way that they don't like, this is what they will do to you. This is a lesson for all Western Canadians. It is shameful. It is shameful what is happening. This is, it just proves to us that we are unwelcome, and that we will be punished if we
Do
step out
you,
of line.
do you know what word Justin Trudeau or even Chrystia Freeland didn't use to describe the Freedom Convoy? The people who invoked the illegal wartime law, the Emergencies Act, on
Yeah.
bouncy castles and horn honking and street dancing. You know what word they didn't even have the hyperbolic tendencies to use? Even they didn't use the word sedition.
Yeah.
Mark Carney used the word sedition. Do you think it's going to get better or worse
Yeah.
with Mark Carney?
Yeah.
Oh, and we have a chatter who points out a very, very good point. And if you guys want to have your voices heard, please get chatting. If you want to support our work, you can do it on Rumble, leaving a Rumble rant that if
Yes.
it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're going to do well, we're obligating ourselves to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to get to it. I don't know how much of the other news of the day we're going to get to because this is such a big thing. And I think you guys are going to have lots to say. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can leave a super chat now. We're very recently remonetized over there. or if you're watching the recorded version of the show and you want to support the work that we do, because you're not going to hear these spicy takes in the mainstream media, you can also leave us a super thanks. That's their paid chat over there. Bill Chesney, you are brilliant for saying this. The Liberals right now are using the term hold the line against the Trump tariffs. I guess it's only illegal when we say it.
Yeah. Yeah. But they did pivot and take everything from the Freedom Convoy, all of the symbols and all of the talking points into their elbows up campaign, didn't they? Didn't they?
Yeah,
Because all
even
of a
the
sudden it was
flags, right? We're also
even the flags. That's right.
during the convoy, they said the flag has been overtaken by seditionists and white supremacists, blah, blah, blah. Just nonsense, right? But now the flag, when it is co-opted for their anti-American sentiment, it's perfectly fine. It's fine to feel proud of your country once again and say hold the line. Yeah, I guess there are certain things that conservatives are not allowed to do in this country. Protesting being one of them. Schmengi gives us $5. Stan and Yosh Schmengi were the Happy Wanderers on Saturday or on SCTV. I have a shirt, I have a fake like tour shirt of the Happy Wanderers. Anyways, usually it's David Menzies doing the stupid pop culture trivia, but when it comes to SCTV, it's me. Gives us $5 and says, sad day for Canada, but a good day for the promise of Western separation. It's time for Wexit. I know a lot of people are going to feel that way because now you have a lot of people saying, even the courts, we don't even have trust in the courts to let us speak our minds, just the way everybody else does. You know, and it's so rare, by the way. Sorry, I'm talking too much, but it is so rare to even see a large scale conservative protest. Why? We are conservatives. We're hard to get going in the right direction altogether because we're individualists by nature. That's why we're not liberals. We don't find it easy to chant things or hold up matching signs, or we like doing our own things.
And we have jobs, like we have day jobs. All of us are busy. We're raising families. We're doing things. There's that other whole thing. And nobody funds us to have protests like the other side has. Is these deep pockets to organize in the way that they do.
So when we show up to a protest, it is organic, it is sincere, it's genuine, and it is enough for us to shrug off all of our individualist tendencies to show up together in one place, which is very difficult to do with conservatives. You know, that's why you can get a liberal to hold a sign and they don't even read it. Like you go to a liberal protest, you ask them why they're there, and you're like, what brings you out today? I don't know. What are you mad about? I'm not sure. What is your sign? Explain your sign to me. Somebody just gave it to me. You know, but you go.
Yeah, Cupid gave it to me.
Right. The union gave me the day off with pay. That's why I'm here.
That's how that works.
But conservatives don't do that. And that's why it shook the government to its core that we did. And I guess the message is, don't get any ideas, conservatives, if Mark Carney wins again.
Oh, that's exactly what they were doing. That's exactly what they were doing. They were making sure to shut off the spigot before any more freedom could pour out of the hose. That's what they did. It was a preemptive shutdown of conservative values and ideas, and I believe that it was successful. It was successful. You will not see another movement like that. That was a once in a lifetime moment. And because of this ruling that just came in, Tamara, just if you're just joining us, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber were convicted
guilty
of mischief. Yeah, were convicted of mischief just now. So you won't see another moment like that in Canada. But just like Schmengi says, there are other things on the horizon, and we got to start looking at all of our options, Western
Canada. There's also, court will now break, but says there are 30 more pages for her to go through. Wow. Just wow. We've got 279 from Alex Greer. Alex, I don't see a chat there. Maybe if the team behind the scenes can see the If the chat didn't attach, if you find that, that would be great. Gank01 gives us $5. One of the worst
Oh,
days in Canadian history I've witnessed since 1970. I fear we're finished. You know,
yeah.
if I had to guess, and if if I had to guess how Tamara Lich is feeling right now, I don't think it is demoralized, and I actually don't think that she would want us to be demoralized. You know, she's a woman of peaceful language, and she encourages at all times unity. She's sort of forgiving even of her enemies. She's got more of that Christian heart for her enemies than I do. I
Grace.
realize
She's
that
got grace. Yeah.
grace,
She's
and I
got
don't
grace.
think that she would. I think she would probably be okay with us being angry, but I don't think that she would want us to be broken and demoralized. And if I know Tamara Lich, and I do a little bit, I feel like she's willing to take the fight to them again, because I mean, this just cannot stand. This means that you
Well,
cannot go to your nation's capital and protest government policy. That's what
what
this means.
options, yeah, what options have they left her though? What options have they left her other than to keep fighting? They haven't
Right.
given her any. As a matter of fact, the courts have shown that they have no grace. Our federal government has shown that they have no grace. Mark Carney is absolutely devoid of grace. And so if you're looking for the leader here, she's going to, I mean, at the end of the day, Chris Barber and Tamara Lich are going to be considered heroes. The end.
Yeah.
Regardless of, because sometimes the powers that be get it entirely wrong. Okay, they get it entirely wrong, and history will not judge them kindly. I don't think. At the end of the day, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber will be considered heroes for what they did in that moment, and for what they're having to endure right now.
And just let's talk about the strained resources in Ottawa in the court system there.
Oh,
Uh, Carter applications, if you are a victim of a real crime in Ottawa, in Canada, you know that your path to even a little bit of justice is long and winding, and it might dead end. Because sometimes the people who have committed crimes against you get off because they can't get to trial quickly enough, because the courts are bunged up with nuisance stuff, and sometimes not even nuisance stuff. This is Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney's Canada. Violent crime is skyrocketing.
ignored.
And
It's
and
ignored by the courts. Ignored.
right. And they spent, I'm guessing, best estimates, $10 million going after a peaceful grandmother who is now being quite literally convicted of mischief, and spent
Yeah.
49 days in jail for what? According to the judge, her crime was saying hold the line.
Isn't that wild?
That was incitement.
Isn't that wild? I mean, there are they don't put this much effort into child abuse cases. They don't put this much effort into murders, into really, really terrible crimes. And yet this is where we're at, Canada. And make no mistake, don't ever forget that those are your tax dollars that paid for this prosecution. Those are your tax dollars. You paid this, Canada, out of your pockets to prosecute this trial. It is crazy what's happened. It is
Right.
insane.
Like, real criminals are walking free, not because they were innocent, but because they are, because of a Jordan ruling. So, a Jordan ruling means that you cannot have unreasonable delays to getting to trial.
Mm.
And unreasonable delays can occur because there are no court resources, that just there aren't enough courtrooms, there aren't enough prosecutors, and so bad guys get to go free, and they get to do it again because they are entitled to have their cases heard in a timely fashion. So imagine you are the victim of violence in Ottawa. Maybe you're a bad guy, gets off thanks to the benefit of the Jordan framework, and and you have to look at the resources that they threw at a peaceful grandmother who
Oh,
said, hold the line.
100%. Last month in Saskatchewan, there was a mass murder on one of our First Nations. 4 people were killed in a brutal fashion, I understand. And one of the guys that was charged with a part of the crime, so whether he was an accessory or something, he was just rearrested again on driving under the influence charges and breach of his conditions, but he was out. He was out, Canada. Like, here is a man who was involved in a mass killing, and he was out awaiting the trial. It is insane. This is just upside down world. Like, every day I think to myself, okay, it can't get any worse than the day before. And then something like this happens and I go, well, nope. Nope, look how terrible it is. Everything is broken. Everything is broken here. Holy Hannah. I just can't get, I'm just, well, this is going to set the tone, I think, for this election, especially in Western Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark Carney, you accused a peaceful grandmother of being a terrorist, being a seditionist, being treasonous, while
Yeah.
you took a $250 million loan from an evil country that
Chinese.
just executed 4 Canadians.
Yeah.
I believe that phone call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Oh, that would be inconvenient for him to hold the bag on, don't you think, Sheila?
Yeah.
That'd be real inconvenient for Mark Carney if more people were to know about that. So go on and make sure you share that far and wide, Canada. This is a man that, yeah, accused those peaceful truckers of sedition and then made
Sedition.
a backdoor deal with China. That's what
Mhm.
happened.
And kept his Chinese kidnapper candidate on until the Chinese kidnapper resigned himself. Apparently, he
Yeah,
learned his lesson, but what lesson was that? We don't even know. We've
yeah.
got Daniel Nardone gives us $5 and says 2 years less a day, provincial custodial sentence, or time already served. I
Mm,
can't imagine they're going to give her anything more than time served, but I was optimistic today and in weeks gone by
yeah,
that she would not be convicted.
yeah. And and they just keep finding ways to disappoint us, Canada, and show us that this is completely broken, this whole thing. They just keep finding new ways to prove it. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's
Cat
insane.
Barks 68 gives us $10 and says, first, I want to thank Tamara and Chris for all they've sacrificed for Canadians. And now the West must exit this country. I think a lot of people today feel that way. There are a
Yeah.
lot of Westerners who are reluctant to give up on Canada. Um, and this basically says if a if a movement foments in the West to help the rest of the country, and the rest of the country goes along, the federal government and the court system will do everything it can to drive us apart and make sure it never happens again.
Well, I think that this ruling proves to the people in the West that, we didn't give up on Canada. Canada gave up on us.
Yeah. Yes. Now, maybe we'll move along. It's been a half an hour of this, although I could probably dedicate the whole show to this.
Oh, we could be here for 6 hours, Sheila. We could be here for 6 hours. These comments are incredible, guys. Please keep them coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, this is a changing day in Canada.
yeah.
I guess we should be grateful to be able to witness it.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is laid bare. And I know Tamara is always, she's an optimist. And even the night of her arrest, she still called for peace. She still called for calm. And I know that she is a believer that God uses all things for his means in the end. And this is not the end, not for Tamara and not for the fight. So let this continue to keep the fire burning in the pit of your stomach of liberty.
Yeah,
I know it does
Sheila,
for me.
what's that website again? What's
tamaratrial.com.
Yeah, everybody, make a mental note. We're going to head on over there after this. We're not done.
Look at this.
We're just
She
not
went and
done.
turned herself over, by the way. She never, look at, smiling.
She is a teeny tiny woman.
I'm not a big woman, and she looks like a garden gnome beside me.
But up against, that teeny tiny woman who did nothing but call for common peace, up against the entire weight of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, courage is contagious, Canada. Courage is contagious, and that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, that's the moral of the convoy, isn't it? The courage was contagious. It is contagious. Good for her.
Yeah. Well, Tamara, Chris, we're thinking about you guys, and yeah, Tamara Trial is where we're all going to head after this, right, viewers?
And just Tamara and Chris, if you're watching later, I imagine you're not watching right now, but just let me say, on behalf of my family and everybody that I care to know, thank you. None of this has been easy on you. I know it's been difficult on your families, caused turmoil and heartache and strife and stress. But thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's move on, because yesterday, after we stopped streaming, the tariffs came. Let's just go into the video, you guys, of President Trump announcing the 25% tariffs on cars imported into the United States.
Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. And I say that friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen, and they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. Thank you.
He wants that manufacturing sector back pretty bad.
He sure does. Now we've got Mark Carney responding to this. The video is from Juno News. Mark Carney, who said, he had all kinds of successful talks with President Trump, and don't worry, he really stuck it to the man. Well, you still got tariffs on steel, aluminum, and cars. So it wasn't that big win the media wanted us all to believe. Actually, the only winner in all of this is Daniel Smith. But anyways, let's hear it from the Undertaker himself.
President Trump has just announced a series of measures that are going to fundamentally change the international trading system. Now, in doing so, he has preserved a number of important elements of our relationship, the commercial relationship between Canada and the United States. But the fentanyl tariffs still remain in place, as do the tariffs for steel and aluminum. As of this evening, the tariffs on automobiles will enter into force, and the U.S. has signaled that there will be additional tariffs in so-called strategic sectors, pharmaceuticals, lumber, and semiconductors. So we're in a situation where there's going to be an impact on the U.S. economy, which will build with time. In our judgment, it will be negative on the U.S. economy. That will have an impact on us. But the series of measures will directly affect millions of Canadians. We're going to fight these tariffs with countermeasures. We are going to protect our workers, and we are going to build the strongest economy in the G7. In a crisis, it's important to come together, and it's essential to act with purpose and with force. and that's what we will do.
How bored are you listening to that? Like, the economy is going to collapse in the eastern part of this country, and I'm just bored of listening to it from
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. He is well, I've seen corpses with more charisma. Okay, I've seen corpses with more
He
charisma.
has no riz,
He
as
has
the
no,
kids
he
say.
has zero riz. But it sounds as though it's mostly going to be Ontario that is suffering the greatest impact from the tariffs coming out of the US. So steel, aluminum, and car manufacturing. Well, what is Ontario's business case? It is steel, aluminum, and car manufacturing. And you got to ask yourself, is what Doug Ford did impacting how America is now treating Ontario? And I would argue yes, because Alberta, Danielle Smith, God bless her, Danielle Smith avoided any further reciprocal tariffs, as did the majority of the provinces. But as it pertains to cars, and I think that it's prudent to point out that 25% on 25% on vehicles is across the board. It's a global tariff that Trump put on, but it disproportionately impacts Ontario. So again, was Doug Ford's antagonistic approach the right approach, or was Danielle Smith's good neighbor diplomatic approach the right approach? And I think we have our answer, Canada. I think we have our answer.
Yeah, I want to hear from the lefty scolds who freaked out because Danielle Smith went to a PragerU event and all of a sudden became fiscal conservatives about the charging the taxpayer for the trip down there. What do you think? What do you think now, guys? Mark Carney should have went to that Prager event. Honestly, if he gave a rip about this country, he would have been speaking directly to Trump's base. He didn't do that at all. In fact, he's recruiting anti-Trump lunatics to run for the party, Notley NDP leftovers who spoke at anti-Trump events are now being recruited to run as Liberal Party candidates in a rare stroke of honesty where they're showing us the NDP and the Liberals are really indistinguishable from each other. So whose approach is most effective? I guess the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
It really, truly is. Yeah. And again, if Mark Carney had any interest in advocating for a good relationship, he would not have jetted off to Europe as his first act of installed Prime Minister of Canada. He would have been burning across the border on the first bus to Washington to talk to the movers and shakers, just like Danielle Smith did, and many of the other premiers, I might add. But he did not. He went to Europe to hobnob with his old friends in the UK,
Right.
and yeah, it looks like that backfired too. Mark, well done.
Yeah, this is what we get for the Liberals installing a pseudo-European aristocrat bankster as the prime minister.
Yes.
Mark Carney now has basically said our economic relationship with the Americans is finito. Maybe we should have that discussion after an election. Give Canadians a say here, buddy. We've got this new clip from, I guess this is live from the morgue with Mark Carney.
You said previously that the relationship that Canada had with the United States is now over. Is the U.S. still our ally?
The U.S. Absolutely. Look, the U.S. is absolutely our ally. It's our ally in security and defense partnerships. It's our most important security ally. For example, it's still, even with these tariffs, the largest trading partners. The point I made last week, the point I made again today, is part of what our relationship has been based on, though, has been a degree of integration between our economies, our trade becoming closer and closer together. That is over. I mean, we saw that was ending a while ago. It's now emphatic. I think the world is learning that is over. That creates real challenges for us. We're not sugarcoating it. We're absolutely clear about that. It also, though, creates an enormous opportunity for a country like Canada, which has virtually everything that the world wants has a lot of things that the U.S. wants, and they're going to find out how much they want it with these tariffs. So we have virtually everything the world wants. And when I talk to leaders in Europe, when I talk to the Mexican president, they want to work with us. They want to cooperate with us. And I'll say one other thing, if I may, and then hand, which is one of the things, and I'll go back to Team Canada. Premier Smith, Premier Moe, Monsieur le Premier Ministre Legault, all of those premiers in the very short term either have just gone on major trade initiatives to Europe in some cases, or about to go to trade missions in Asia. That's the Team Canada approach. That's the coordinated approach that we need. And I think Canadians, again, not sugarcoating the challenges, but can be very encouraged about the sense of purpose and action at different levels to move forward.
Okay, so a bunch of well-heeled liberals are getting on a bunch of million-dollar jets to fly around the world to have in-person meetings with Asia and Europe instead of hopping on a bus and getting over to Washington and fixing the issue that they created to begin. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, perfect.
Good.
Like, who asked them or gave them permission to do this on our behalf, Canada? And the answer is absolutely nobody. Nobody.
Right.
They should be doing no negotiation with any country right now up until the election. This is craziness. This is crazy. And yeah,
Now,
no,
go
he
ahead.
said the world has the world is interested in Canadian product. Yeah, they were. Remember when Japan came begging for our
Twice.
LNG? The LNG. That's right. Germany came begging for our light natural LNG. Yeah. And we told them no and to go away. This is the same party that is now going overseas to try and whip up those markets again. You
Yeah,
idiots.
but Trump has already signed those deals that we didn't with them. So not only did Japan come once, twice, I think it was 3 times. In fact, the last time Japan came, the liberals didn't even mention that Japan raised the issue of LNG, liquefied natural gas, with them again. They just didn't mention it. What I did is I got the readout from the Japanese, and it shows that very recently, in their last meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, they once again raised the issue of buying liquefied natural gas from Canada. Of course, it would go by way of British Columbia. They said no. In fact, it wasn't even worth even writing down in the readout on the Canadian side. And then Donald Trump is like, well, if they're not going to sell it to you, we'll definitely sell it to you. So not only have we turned these people down repeatedly, but they're not buyers of our stuff anymore because they've signed other deals with the
We've lost the
Americans.
market. So we're
Yeah,
paying for a bunch of bureaucrats to go to these markets to beg them to beg us again, and they're going to tell, okay, so we're just paying for vacations for liberal bureaucrats to travel around the world until the election. Oh, good.
yes, exactly. Now, someone who understands the urgency of this is Pierre Poilievre, who did not say that his first job once he becomes prime minister is to gallivant through Europe on a victory tour. He said he's headed to Washington to immediately start dealing with the trade issues with the Americans, including ripping open a trade deal the Americans say needs to be renegotiated.
I will push hard to end the tariff madness. On my first day on the job as Prime Minister, I will call the President and demand that we rapidly renegotiate the CUSMA agreement on a very tight timeline. That will allow us to find certainty. I will also propose that in the meantime, both sides suspend tariffs. To be clear, no counter tariffs from Canada will be removed unless and until the Americans do the same. But the argument to President Trump will be this: put aside the uncertainty, the job loss, and stock market crashes on both sides of the border. Pause the tariffs until we can hammer out a deal. Now, that deal will have to be in the Canadian interest. First and foremost, we will protect Canadian sovereignty. Certain things will be non-negotiable. We will protect our land, our water, our laws, our government, our culture, our language policies, and our borders will always be exclusively under our control. Second, we will demand an end to all tariffs, free trade, both ways. But third, we believe we can convince the Americans it's in their national and security interest to get a deal, because we will use all the proceeds of that deal, all of the economic benefits that flow into the federal coffers, to massively rebuild our military so that we can carry our weight and keep our continent safe. This will create a powerful incentive for Americans to say yes. But of course, there's no guarantee with Trump. As we're learning, nobody in Canada can control Donald Trump, contrary to many of the suggestions and the unrealistic expectations that some have been setting. Which is why I have to make clear, and I will be making clear to President Trump, that any commitments we make that America wants to happen on defense, border cooperation, or market access can and will be instantaneously withdrawn if he violates any part of the agreement. We will only uphold our side of the bargain as long as he holds up his side of the bargain. That's how we create the leverage to protect against a president who changes his mind and breaks his word. Still, no one can control President Trump, and no one can predict what he will do. The only thing we can control is what we do here at home. And that's why the best way to stand up to President Trump is to make our economy stronger and more independent from the Americans. The economic plan I've been announcing throughout this election is to unleash our industry, to make it strong, self-reliant, sovereign, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to President Trump.
Okay. I mean, he's got a campaign in Ontario and Quebec, so you have to sort of campaign to those people. He hasn't even been out west yet, and we're like 2 weeks into the campaign. I feel like it's not worth coming here because we're already voting for him. But I get it. But he is making a point that if we are getting, as they call them, fentanyl tariffs, we need to be talking about the border and security, which he is.
Yep, and our hug the thug justice system right now that are letting people out, in the front door of the courthouse, out the back door of the courthouse, and they're back on the streets the same afternoon. There are so many things that Canada has to clean house on. And I think that nobody is more aware of this than Pierre Poilievre in this moment. And I'm so happy that you said, Sheila, that he was campaigning in Ontario there, because
Yeah.
that's the thing that as a Westerner I
Have
must
to
keep
remember.
reminding myself. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you got to view it through the lens of an Easterner. But I think that also illustrates the fundamental difference between Eastern Canadians and Western Canadians. We just see things through a different set of glasses, I suppose.
You know what? On that note, and I know it's not on the list, but Olivia, if you wouldn't mind, while we're watching, this hour has 22 minutes, just on the whole point of two different lenses. Let's look at the agriculture sector through two different lenses. One through unquoted farmers, and another through Mark Carney's eyes. If you look on his X page yesterday, he talks about meeting with dairy farmers and blah blah blah. It's like everybody from the West is like canola.
Pardon.
Pardon me, but we'll bring that up afterwards. Let's watch this. This hour has 22 minutes skit. If you haven't seen this, I don't blame you. Nobody watches This Hour Has 22 Minutes. But they did their take on the Carney, Mike Myers skit that also was completely boring and unwatchable, and it gave this like completely shallow take of what it actually means to be a Canadian, because the Liberals have actually never thought about that. And this is supposed to be Pierre Poilievre meeting also Mike Myers. Let's watch.
Yes, play hockey. Play hockey. Hi, Canada. It's me, Pierre. I'm at a hockey rink. Oh, look. Take that, Mark Carney. It's celebrity sweetheart Mike Myers, also at the rink to endorse me. Oh, God. Okay, wow. Wrong Michael Myers. That's all right. Just like my face without glasses, we'll force this to work. Michael, you're a proud Canadian citizen? Okay, good. Yep. Yep.
So
Me
just
neither.
like the other Mike Myers.
But you probably know some famous Canadian things. Ooh, let's do a cute little fill in the blank. Speak after me. Bare naked. Ladies, yep. Very good. You're a defenseman defending a 2-on-1. How do you stop it? Killing. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that would do it. And finally, the name of Mr. Dressup's 2 puppet helpers.
Before my time.
Fair enough. Well, Michael Myers, thank you for endorsing me. Elbows up. Maybe let's get those elbows down. Let's just drop those down. It's better. Yeah, I don't really understand the phrase either, so. Michael, where did you go? Oh, you're sneaky like Mark Carney, aren't you? Where'd you go? Oh, wow. Really lurking behind me there, aren't you? Is that what that feels like? You gotta stop doing that to people. Is Jamie Lee Curtis nice?
Okay. That is as boring as listening to Mark Carney. Like, that was supposed to be funny, by the way.
That is painfully unfunny, painfully unoriginal, and that actor might have the most smackable face in the entire nation of Canada. Sorry, the whole time, that face is just smackable. Look at it. No, the whole thing was painfully unfunny. And just remember that we pay those
Thank
people, almost $2 billion a year to produce that level of garbage. But I'm sure that it does appeal to a certain Karen subset of Liberal Party supporters that would just think that that's the most brilliant thing they've ever seen. And positive, they do. Yeah.
You know, as Joe Warmington rightly points out, and Joe is a gem, just a gem at the Toronto Sun. This is supposed to appeal to the same people who were mortally offended in their ovaries because, and if you're a man, also for everybody else's ovaries, if you listened to Pierre Poilievre, note the biological reality that you do have a ticking clock on your ability to have children. And this, like a skit where the conservative leader is murdered by a serial killer, albeit a fictional one, that's supposed to appeal to the perpetually offended people who don't want to even hear about biological reality. And again, the worst crime here is that it was A, unfunny, and B, we paid for it. Government comedy is never going to be funny. Let's all remember that. So my expectations were very low. I wonder, I don't know if I can find out how much this whole thing cost, but I would like to.
Oh, the levels of producers and executive producers and writers and cinematographers and music. Oh, they would have written custom music and they would have had to rent out an entire
land acknowledgements and
the DEI quotas that they would have had to have invested into for you to be entertained, Canada. Are you not entertained by the CBC?
Can you imagine the hysteria of the left if it were Mike Myers, serial killer Mike Myers, knifing Chrystia Freeland?
I mean, there would be people in holding cells.
Right.
There would be people in holding cells. How dare you? How dare you? They would scream at the top of their Karen lungs. But this is Canada. Well, there's a popular saying that goes like, the left can't meme. Yeah. The left can't be entertaining. They can't tell jokes. They're not funny. They're not original. This was just a perfect example of the quality of the CBC.
You can't find humor in things if you are by nature perpetually offended. You just can't. The two things are incompatible. We've got a couple of chats. We've got an ad read. And then, Olivia, should we hit a Rebel News ad break? We'll come back with Poilievre on Ben Mulrooney's podcast. But if you were by chance able to bring up Mark Carney's tweets on meeting with the quota farmers. Yes. Okay. Supply management is part of our economic sovereignty when it comes to negotiations with Trump's. It's off the table. And then like all the replies and all the quotes are just Western farmers, the non-supply managed farmers, the beef producers, so the other end of the cattle are
Yes.
just like livid over
Yes.
this.
The grain
Don't
growers, the grain growers in Saskatchewan are going wild about
beef
this.
producers, canola farmers, everybody else is like, "Oh, okay, but you haven't even said a word about canola." I guess you
Yeah.
don't want that $250 million loan recalled, I guess.
It's just wild. Look at these comments. They're just the best. Just
They were
gets his butt handed to him in the comments. I mean, the best part about X is running to the comment section after they post
quick.
something like this.
I put on my shoes and I just run to the comment section to see what's going on.
Running in heels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at this.
Yeah.
Just wild.
Don't you dare talk to a canola farmer who's got 100% tariffs because of the liberals' protectionism against Chinese
Yeah.
EVs.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Supply Management Canada is why we pay the prices we do on milk and cheese and dairy in Canada. And so look at them protecting the high prices. Look at them protecting the high prices.
And who can
So
pay
next-
it the least? The poor.
That's
and it's
right.
also why we have so few interesting cheeses in this country. Okay, we've got a couple of chats. My buddy Mike from Freedom Honey gives us $5 and says there is no justice. Not right now, but I think I firmly believe one day.
One day, Mike.
Udibersi gives us $5. Says Carney looks like Frankenstein, sounds dead on his feet, uses the same speech as Justin Trudeau. He wants to look after our workers. What a bunch of hogwash. He means unionized workers and public sector union workers, not the private sector ones who build things. He doesn't, not those guys. They're all endorsing Poilievre.
They're less important. Yeah.
Icky.
Back of the bus. Back of the bus, Carney says.
We've got a script here from our friends at 5G Free. I want to talk about the things that people are afraid to say out loud. Who's in control of America's nukes? Not Biden. Meanwhile, we have Russian ships off the coast of Florida and full-blown wars in Ukraine and Israel. And I should preface that by saying it wasn't Biden. If you saw pictures of him during the lead up to the election, he was like collapsed in a chair on the beach. Just, I don't know if he was awake. Catching flies anyways. His mouth was hanging open. The world was at its most unstable point since World War II, and with nuclear weapons, the stakes are 10 times higher. How do people like you and I stay safe? Every prepper needs to have RadioGuard Ace, the only FDA-approved drug to treat radioactive fallout. Only the feds had it until now. That's why Rumble partnered with 5G Free, the only company in the world that has a supply of RadioGuard Ace and the ability to prescribe it prophylactically. Get their radiation emergency kit with RadioGuard Ace, potassium iodide, Zofran, and a Geiger counter. There's simply no other tool in your arsenal to protect against a radioactive threat. Go to 5gfree.com, code studio to save 50% off your radiation kit now. Olivia, should we hit a Rebel News ad break and we'll come back and we'll finish up the last little bits of the show? I got to talk about the NDP Jagmeet Singh with that woman. I just have so many to use a phrase from our friend, the recently fired Rachel Gilmore. I've got big feelings about what I saw. Anyways, let's hit an ad break and we'll be right back.
Okay. What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
Why should you join Canada's National Firearms Association? We currently have one of the most aggressively anti-firearm governments in our nation's history, promoting fear and placing blame like never before. our rights, freedoms, culture, and heritage. It's all on the line. But we are fighting back, and there is strength in numbers. We work within the law to change the law, to defend competitors, hunters, collectors, and other law-abiding firearms owners. We can get through this. We've done it before, and we'll do it again, if you are with us. Canada's National Firearms Association. Freedom, safety, responsibility.
Okie doke. We're back. I wanted to talk about a couple of different things, and then we'll go into Jagmeet Singh's newest supporter. Just the more I think about it, the just wilder it becomes to me. But yesterday, as we were saying, hey, Pierre Poilievre, you should do more long form sit downs with Canadian broadcasters, he literally was, as we were saying it, on air with Ben Mulrooney. And so Poilievre clarified his security clearance non-issue, because everyone's like, why doesn't he get the security clearance so that he can get these high-level briefings? First of all, there are other people within the party, especially during the writ period, who have that. So they communicate with the elections officials and security officials on foreign interference stuff. That was made clear during the Foreign Interference Commission, that if the leader takes it, he cannot talk about certain things publicly. And if foreign interference is a huge issue in the election, spoiler alert, it is, then you want to be able to talk about it, especially if the foreign interference problem is in the other guy's party. But they have officials within the party who are briefed on this, who they can deal with it during the campaign on these high-level issues. So Poilievre was asked about it again, because this is like the dumbest liberal talking point, and it only appeals to the stupidest of people. He answered it again.
Explain once and for all the situation
God, he
with
looks
your
like Stephen
security
Harper.
clearance.
Well, first of all, I've already had the clearance. I was a minister in a cabinet, so I've already been cleared. Secondly, what the Liberals have been trying to get me to do is sign an oath of secrecy so that I can't speak publicly about foreign interference without their permission, to get locked in to an oath of confidentiality, so that when an issue of foreign interference comes up, I have to risk criminal prosecution if I say something the government considers that it has briefed me on, even if I might have said it anyway.
Explain.
Again,
Okay.
for the millionth time, he's not going to gag himself over issues of national interest in a campaign where foreign interference is playing an oversized role in our conversations. He's just not going to do it. And like he says, he already had it before. There are people that have it within the party, and he's keeping the Liberals honest by
Right.
by not abiding by their gag orders. So
If your enemy says sign this thing so that you can't talk about our misdeeds, would you do it? No,
Right.
no.
Right.
That's the dumbest thing. They have party officials who are briefed, who have the clearance. They can deal with stuff during the writ. This allows him to talk about the issue, and I think I'm real grateful that he didn't take that secrecy oath, given that there was an inducement to kidnap and ransom to the Chinese in Mark Carney's party. So
yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
But further to our conversation yesterday about going on podcasts, although I appreciate Ben Mulrooney, I do appreciate him. Ben Mulrooney works in terrestrial radio, which is where I came from, and nobody knows more than me. The countdown clock on terrestrial radio is so rigid. It is
yeah.
you live and die by that clock countdown. So I would like to see, again, Pierre Poilievre doing open-ended podcasts with no timelines, no set topic list, no on or off topics or things that you can or can't talk about. I would still like to see him do those long form podcasts.
Sure.
That is what the people of Canada are thirsty for, and that's where we'll get to know the real Pierre Poilievre.
Quick video just on the hypocrisy of the Green Party. They I think, are proposing a militia. I think. Now, I'm not sure what the militia is going to be armed with, and I'll get to that in a second. But
like Elizabeth
again,
May is doing this.
Yes,
Elizabeth
there's a
May
woman
is-
that I wouldn't let near a pal or an our pal. And again, I remain increasingly surprised that there was a co-leader of the Liberals that I didn't know about.
And here he is.
Here he is making an announcement.
Okay.
One thing is clear, Canada is no longer safe in the ways that it used to be. The post-war assumptions about safety, about proximity to a superpower that could always have our backs, is now over. That's why today I'm proud to announce a bold new plan from the Green Party of Canada, a plan that will help defend our country. Canada needs a civil defense corps. And this isn't about soldiers or missiles, this is about people. Our people, ensuring that we are ready to face fire, floods, cyber attacks, or foreign threats. We're proposing to create a 120,000 strong National Civil Defense Corps with well-paid jobs and priority hire for oil and gas workers throughout the country who have shown
The people they want to
their dedication
unemploy,
to this
by the way.
country, who are
That's what
ready
this
to
is.
work to defend it, who are loyal Canadians. We're also committing to expand our reserve forces by at least 20,000 people. We will
How?
fund the expansion of the Canadian Rangers. We will support local defense units rooted in Indigenous knowledge. And we want to place Inuit, Dene, Gwich'in, and other Indigenous nations at the heart of our Arctic sovereignty strategy. Because defending the land means listening to those who, first and foremost, live there.
Okay.
What a weird announcement. First of all, this sounds like a make work project for all the unemployed oil and gas workers if the Liberals get their way, right? They want to phase out oil and gas. What are you supposed to do with them? Oh, we're going to make them a standing militia. Okay, what are they going to defend the country with? Yo-yos? You guys are the biggest gun grabbers in the mix. You're the ones who are like, yes, Liberals, take their guns and give them to the people of Ukraine. What are you going to do with my Mini 14? You know, like what? How many Russians are you going to kill with my Mini 14? I probably wouldn't use it on a coyote.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And yes, I'm so happy you said that, because the whole time he's talking, I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, so this is how they're suggesting we pivot our entire oil and gas sector into a big DEI experiment. This is what they are suggesting. How are we going to pivot all of those people working in natural resources to be DEI Rambos? Like, how are we going to do that? Well, the Green Party just gave you a solution to that problem, but no thanks. Like, no thank you, Green Party of Canada. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Right. And it doesn't even like address the issue of their anti-gun. Like, you already want me to give my guns to Yaroslav in Kiev. Like, I don't know how you think this is going to work out.
We're going to give everybody a spitzer of apple cider vinegar. And when the bad guys come pouring over the border, they'll just, that's it. Yeah. What are you suggesting, Green Party? What are you suggesting?
And they're like, we want a standing militia to defend against cyber attacks. What do you want me to do? Shoot my computer? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't understand. And then they say, we want to expand the reserves by 20,000. We can't get people to sign up for the military, and the ones that are there want to leave desperately. They're just watching the clock because it's too woke. And then the Greens, who want to disarm everybody, want to expand this military force, and they're still talking about DEI stuff. This is the dumbest thing ever, but the good news is it's the Greens, so this stuff won't manifest anywhere outside of their fevered minds.
Yes. Yeah. He and Elizabeth May dreamed that up over a boozy brunch in Ottawa, I think.
Oh,
that's what happened.
That's NyQuil and chill.
A bottomless brunch with NyQuil chasers. That's right. That's where you get these ideas.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. Well, good for them for trying.
Yeah, you know what? Good for you guys. You're getting out there. um, the NDP. Let's talk about the NDP being absolute deviant weirdos, because there's two things we need to talk about. First, Ryan Garrettson's tweet. We'll get that one out of the way first, because the other one, I'm just full of I'm grossed out by it, honestly, for 100 different reasons. Ryan Garrettson, he asks, if you aren't following Ryan, by the way, on X, you definitely should. Is Jagmeet purposefully tanking the NDP? And then he's got
guys in fetish gear.
Fetish
So
gear. I didn't know how to describe it. I'm like, those aren't furries.
No,
I just feel like the whole furry realm probably smells not great. This is fetish gear where people cosplay as animals. Is that it?
Yeah.
This is like bestiality adjacent stuff?
Yeah,
I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness.
Yes. This is who Jagmeet Singh is appealing to, is the perverts and fetishists of the world. But then this is the party that believes that sex work is actual work, and they're there for all of the workers of the world. And what he does next absolutely solidifies this claim. But yeah, here's Jagmeet Singh with a bunch of fetishists. Canada, make sure to vote for your local, municipal, provincial, and federal NDP if you're down with the fetishists to be running the show.
Yeah, if you have somebody running for your school board that is NDP adjacent, just remember this photo right here.
Exactly that. This is what they stand for. Like these guys would not be out of place in a in the back part of a pride parade. At the front part of the pride parade is where all of the dignitaries are with their floats, right? And they never ever get to see the fetishists at the back of the parade. And this is a great example. In the parade, they might be wearing full leather gear and some chainmail and some rank metal goods attached to the leather gear. But yeah, this is what Jagmeet is doing now. So
this is just another thing Jagmeet Singh is doing, because I don't know how to describe this. Maybe sex work? Reality actress?
Yeah.
Maybe. Jagmeet Singh appears with an OnlyFans model. Can you call that modeling? I don't know. But this is full
OnlyFans exhibitionist.
No, triple X stuff. And she posts it on her X account. And New Democrat Jagmeet Singh is with this OnlyFans model. She's not modeling. I don't even know why they call it that. And she's donning a keffiyeh to show her solidarity with Hamas.
Yeah.
And they talk about how they want to throttle and prevent Israel from winning their war and rescuing their hostages. This girl has just, where are her parents? Anyway, let's watch this.
As Canadians, we're proud the American military does not get to decide what goes on inside our borders, because we don't vote for them, and Palestinians deserve the exact same thing, and I know you feel similar.
Absolutely. Should not be selling or buying from a country, especially a Netanyahu government that violates human rights. We should be sanctioning those that are involved in these war crimes.
Why are we buying and selling arms to a place that doesn't respect international borders?
The points are actually things that we put forward either in a motion or we put forward individually.
The censorship going on right now with Palestinian voices is unbelievable, and we need to get out there and have our voices heard as Canadians, because we have the privilege of being able to vote and really have a say in this.
Get out and vote, yeah, and absolutely. We also have an important platform to help people around the world where their voices are being silenced, and we can actually amplify their voices.
I encourage you to go to elections.ca, figure out where your riding is, what you need to do to vote. Appreciate that so much. Thank you, Jimmy. As Canadians,
this is the best he can do. This is his celebrity endorsement. A girl who peddles her body on OnlyFans to the highest bidder. And then, of course, they call it sex work. But that is a woman whom I would not let sit on my couch. And if she did, I would throw out the couch.
Jonathan Kay had the funniest thing to say about it. He was like, the porn industry is going to take a hit to their reputation after one of their stars was seen fraternizing with Jagmeet Singh. And I went, Yup. That's the long and short of it. Uh, but but I think that maybe somebody in the NDP brain trust thought to themselves, now how are we going to reach the young people? How are we going to reach the young people? And they went, well, OnlyFans is full of young people. We should go over there. And this reminds me of the math tutor that put all of his content on. Oh, how am I going to say it? You know, the website, the most famous website for, it's like Hornhub. Okay, Hornhub. This math tutor put all of his content on Hornhub, and it turned out to be really popular. I think this is what Jagmeet Singh was thinking. Like, this is where I'm going to find the young people, but then it only makes you look like trash because we know that the people that are on OnlyFans aren't there because they want to be there. They're there because they cannot find a job in Canada, and this is the way that young people are making money in
Yeah,
Canada.
you're on there for
Like, this
you're
is
on there for
necessity.
I'm going to say you're on there for 3 reasons: necessity,
Yes.
laziness,
Yeah.
or you're a complete and total weirdo. I guess it's she'll have to tell us which. Please don't scroll down this feed because it is atrocious, and it's definitely not safe for YouTube.
Sheila and I are going to open a website. It's going to be called Only Grands. Okay,
Yeah,
Only Grands.
it's just us with
And
Afghans.
it'll just be us doing handicrafts and telling you that you should make good decisions. There are good things going
Yeah.
to happen to you. Yeah, Only
Say your
Grands.
prayers. Say your prayers. Wash your hands, and I'll help you with your crochet stitches.
That's
Like, if you need
right.
crochet advice or pickling advice, you can reach me on Only Grands, and I will be your young babushka. I will help you.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll do. We'll do customized happy birthday calls. You know, that early in the morning happy birthday call that your grandma used to give you every year for your birthday. We'll do those kinds of things. Just
I will
nothing but
send
wholesome
you a
content.
card with a scratch and win lottery ticket in there for your birthday for a price, right? Like, Only Grounds, we don't work for free, but if you need the care
Yeah.
and attention of a card from your fake grandma
Yeah.
that has a scratch and win bingo card in there, I will do that for you.
That's us. Okay.
Do you
Only
know what?
Grands.
I will write you a check for $5 for your birthday. Because who uses checks anymore except somebody's grandma? I'll do that on the Only Grants.
I love this. I love
Mhm.
this. Oh, this is such a no, it's now we're just gonna have to make it happen, Sheila Gunreed, because now we're creating. We're creating, and we will just put this woman to shame. Okay, Only Grants. That's what
Only
we're gonna do.
Grants.
Yeah.
Now, and there's a fundamental problem with what Jagmeet Singh is doing, and that is presuming that all young people are deviants and weirdos and sickos, when that is
Yeah.
really just a small cult-like segment of young people. In fact,
Yeah.
and I'm surrounded by young people. I have a few of them, and I know you are
Mhm.
too. Young people increasingly embrace conservatism. And this is a study. This is like Fraser Institute study of an Abacus poll indicating that 36% of Canadians between 18 and 29 would support the Conservatives versus 27% for the NDP and a paltry 19% for the Liberals.
And this is such a deviation from historical norms,
Yes.
which showed up until this point, young people disproportionately were, young and idealistic and heavily left-leaning. This turns that on its head. And actually, this gives me hope for us, Canada, to know that our young people coming up have got their heads screwed on right. But it's incredible the way that telling kids that they're part of a genocidal state and punishing them for crimes that they did not commit, and telling them that they're terrible, and telling them that the world is on fire and that climate change is going to end things anyway, raising them in this environment with no hope. It's incredible what that does to young Canadians, because this is showing us that they are overwhelmingly rejecting all of that. So this makes me happy. When we're looking for a little glimmer of hope, Canada, here it is. It's in our young people.
Well, and you can see this turning out at the rallies. You see the overwhelmingly young Poilievre rallies, the Lord's waiting room the liberal rallies, and then you've got like the union retirees and weirdos who go to the Jagmeet Singh rallies.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Yeah. I do hope that they all turn out to vote. That's absolutely imperative in these next 30 days, is that all of those young people can vote.
Yes. Okay, one thing I want to talk about while I have you, and then we will close on Ezra's report from outside the courthouse in Ottawa on the Tamara Lich conviction. Now, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber convicted of mischief in an Ottawa courtroom today. Ezra will give an update, so just hang tight with us. After we sign off and say bye, we want you to stay. And Ezra will be headed back into the courtroom if he isn't already there now to continue on with the judge's ruling. But I wanted to talk to Lise about this because we were talking about this yesterday in a little side project that we're working on. Daily Mail online. Female fencer takes a knee and walks out against transgender rival as she tells the ref, "I will not fence against a man." And this is in the Daily Mail, so the world's widest consumable publication in the world. USA fencer Stephanie Turner was scheduled to face Redmond Sullivan at the Cherry Blossom tournament held in the University of Maryland. However, as the match was about to begin, Turner took a knee, removed her mask in protest during the Division 1A women's foil event. She was subsequently shown a black card, which signifies that the player is immediately excluded from the competition and suspended for the remainder of it. Turner had completed 4 matches before facing Sullivan, who eventually placed 24th out of 39 in the competition. Turner told Fox News Digital, "I saw that I was going to be in a pool with Redmond, and from there I said, okay, let's do it. I'm going to take a knee." And then they actually show images of her taking a knee for and refusing to compete against the transgender opponent. Sullivan competed as a man last year.
As so many of them do.
Yeah,
so
and
many of them do.
Okay, I want to just read her statement. She said, "I knew what I had to do because USA Fencing had not been listening to women's objections. I took a knee immediately at that point. Redmond Sullivan was under the impression that I was going to start fencing. So when I took the knee, I looked at the ref and said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I am a woman and this is a man and this is a women's tournament and I will not face this individual." Redmond did not hear me, and he comes up to me and he thinks that I may be hurt or he doesn't understand what's happening. He asks, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm sorry. I have much love and respect for you, but I will not fence you." Good. That's how it's done.
But how is this still happening? Like, how is this still happening? We can all agree. I think we can all agree that we know that there are biological differences between men and women physically. How is this still being allowed to happen in the United States? Like, I'm sorry, but like, I thought they did away with this. Is this was the University of Maryland? So are they going to see their funding rescinded by the federal government then?
Well, it would.
I should hope so. Immediately.
I should hope so
because there is no excuse for this.
Yeah.
That young women at the apex of their athletic careers in university settings, that they have to take a knee, that they have to bow out of the entire competition and ruin their further chances, that this is still being allowed to happen, that this is happening in Canada, makes me mental. But that this was outlawed in the United. Oh, and that's another thing we have to fix, Canada. Okay, we got to get rid of all of this garbage that the United States got rid of. But that this is still being allowed to happen in the United States is a cause for concern. Because I thought that they got rid of this.
I guess Maryland is in for a showdown with the Trump administration, or at least the University of Maryland, because the executive order that Trump signed vowed to rescind funding to any institution that permits trans athletes to participate in female sports. The order directs the Department of Justice to make sure all government agencies enforce a ban under Trump's interpretation of Title IX, a law against sex discrimination in education. And since then, the NCAA, so that's the varsity sports umbrella organization, they amended their policy to now limit women's sports to student athletes who are female at birth.
At birth.
So you're in
Being
for a
the
showdown, I
pertinent-
guess. And I would not play chicken with Trump.
I would not either. I would not either. But my heart does go out to that athlete for having to take that brave stance. Those brave stances do not happen without a great deal of care and consideration. And my heart just goes out to her, knowing that she had to do that, and for every woman that has to take a knee in a show of complacency while these things get sorted out. Just know that we're on your side every single time, and we will be unrelenting until we see these changes in Canada too.
Right. Okay. We've got one quick ad read to pay the bills, and then we'll sign off. And then you guys at home, please stick around if you want to hear what Ezra has to say, his take on the conviction of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber today in a courtroom in Ottawa for their role in the 2022 liberation movement of the Freedom Convoy. This message is from Positive, and of course it's spelled the cutesy way, PAWSITIVE. If you have a dog, and we've all been there, our pup goes from full of energy to sick and miserable in an instant and at the worst of times. Then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on weekends trying to find a clinic that will take us in. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels and your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the Pet Emergency Kit by Positive. It contains critical medication and supplies that can not only keep you out of the vet office, but may even save your dog's life. Their kit contains critical medications like activated charcoal, styptic powder, and more. It might save your dog's life. Head on over to positive.com, use code STUDIO to get 15% off your pet emergency kit. That's positive.com, code STUDIO. Okay. And if we don't have any more chats, Olivia, then I will say our goodbyes and our thank yous, and then everybody can stick around to hear Ezra's report from outside of the courtroom. Lise, thanks so much for joining me on this, I think, dark day for freedom and the rule of law in this country, but I don't think that it is at even close to the end of it.
No, I don't either. And thanks so much for having me, Rebel, and to our viewers. I was saying to Sheila yesterday, coming on this show is like therapy for me. So thanks so much for having me on a random Thursday, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Right. For those of you who care deeply about Tamara Lich and the rule of law in this country, you can go to tamaratrial.com. On that page, you will find links to our trial coverage, how you can support our trial coverage, how you can support Tamara Lich's legal fees through the Democracy Fund, and how you can buy Tamara's book with apparently the illegal phrase, hold the line, as the title. So if you go to tamaratrial.com, just scroll down, you'll find it's your one-stop shop for everything Tamara Lich. And I know a lot of you at home are outraged and you really want to support her. So that's your one place to go do it. Thanks to everybody at Rebel News who works behind the scenes to let you click and watch the show wherever and however you want to watch it. Thanks to everybody who pitches in a little bit to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. Thanks to our special sponsors through Rumble. Again, thank you, Lise. Stay tuned. Ezra's got comments. And as my friend David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.
Ezra Levant here. Shocking news, at least for me and the many fans of Tamara Lich. We're standing outside the Ottawa courthouse where in the last 5 minutes, Judge Heather Perkins McVeigh said that she has convicted both Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, the two figureheads of the trucker convoy, convicted them in the first of a series of counts involving their role in the trucker convoy in this city some 3 years ago. I have to tell you, I'm shocked by that. I thought that perhaps Chris Barber may have been convicted because some of his language was more florid about locking down the city and wrecking things. Some of those transcripts were read back by the judge today, but I'm truly astonished that Tamara Lich was convicted. Tamara Lich, whose only statements were about peace and love. She literally would talk that way about keeping your spirits high and let's be peaceful and loving. It was, I called her the spiritual leader of the truckers. It was some astonishing logic used by the judge, in my view. For example, here's one of the reasons the judge is convicted. She said that Tamara Lich was told by police that the truckers had to move their trucks and to sort of de-escalate the protest because it was causing problems, and Tamara Lich agreed to help. Now, you might think that that's proof that Tamara Lich was on the side of the good guys, but the judge said no. It showed that Tamara Lich knew that there was a problem of mischief in the city that she had to fix. So by crowdfunding for the truckers and by encouraging the truckers and using the phrase "hold the line," she knew she was committing a crime because she knew there was a problem because she was helping to solve it. I found that upside down logic. It really irritated me that the phrase "hold the line" was taken by the judge as proof that Tamara Lich was inciting mischief. Hold the line, a most innocuous phrase, a generic phrase, a phrase that was even used by police during the convoy. Imagine being convicted of mischief in part because you said the words "hold the line" in the same country where there are pro-Hamas protests where they chant things like "from the river to the sea," which means to genocide all the Jews, ethnically cleanse all the Jews out of Israel, or Intifada revolution. That's an anti-Semitic pogrom. So you hear those violent chants throughout this country on street protests and universities, and not a thing. But Tamara Lich leads the greatest peaceful protest in a generation, and because she says "hold the line," the judge uses that as one of the reasons to convict her. I am deeply surprised. I thought that this judge, because she had presided over the Mark Norman fiasco when the government tried to set up the vice admiral in a political witch hunt, I thought that she would be alive and alert to the kind of schemes and scams by prosecutors, but I was dead wrong. I am stunned by this. Let me tell you one thing, though. Last night, I came into town. I wanted to make sure I got here despite the weather. And I met briefly with Tamara Lich, and I talked to her a little bit. And I said, either way, today is going to be appealed. If Tamara Lich were acquitted today, the vengeful government would have appealed that acquittal. And I didn't think it was likely, but I thought if she was convicted, we'll obviously appeal for her. And she agreed to accept the help from the Democracy Fund to crowdfund the cost of her appeal. I asked her last night, will you accept help from the Democracy Fund to crowdfund your appeal should you lose? And she said yes. We thought she was going to win, it's true. But she didn't. She hasn't. She's being convicted. If you believe in helping Tamara, go to helptamara.com. It's not a Rebel News fundraiser. That's a fundraiser through the Democracy Fund charity to pay her lawyers to help fight. I'm a little bit astonished. I'm a little bit wobbled by today's ruling. And it tells me there's two tiers of justice in this country. If you want to help fight back, go to helptamara.com.